Hello friends, welcome to another episode of a video series in which we uncover the hidden gems in the Bible and those stories that most people never get to hear or never fully appreciate. Now in the last video we talked about Judah and his daughter-in-law Tamar and how she disguised herself as a prostitute, put a veil over her face in order to seduce Judah and get pregnant by him, which she was successfully able to do. And 3 months later, when Judah finds out she's pregnant, and he doesn't know that it is by him that she is with child, commands her to be brought out for burning. But she saves her own life by producing his shepherd's rod, which she took as a down payment for her services as a prostitute. Well, that was quite an interesting story. If you hadn't had a chance to see that one, go back and check it out. Go check it out right now. Go check it out right now. Go. You're going to need it in order to have the context for this story, because the Judah-Tamar sequence is a primer, a device to put us in a proper mind for the story in which it is nested, which is the Joseph sequence. That is Joseph and his coat of many colors. Now you know Joseph, right? Joseph, the coat of many colors, Joseph. Before we get into that though, I want to give a shout out to a friend of mine who's been watching these videos and has been very complimentary so far of both the videos and the general enterprise. But he emailed me the other day and couldn't resist a friendly jab that went something like this. My dear friend, I cannot fail to notice that you seem to be obsessed with matters of Philistine sex. Well, first of all, I don't know how many times Philistines have come up in my subject matter, but as far as the sex go, I mean, given the fact that every video I've done so far has featured sex front and center, he might actually have a point. But I assure you, I am not just interested in the sordid and scandalous, although I may have chosen those off-colored subjects to kind of shock our minds out of our normal mode of approaching the Bible and the complacency thereof. I want to assure my friend and the rest of you that today there will be no sex in this story. It is as pure as the driven snow, at least. Anyway, let's talk about Joseph. Let's talk about Joseph. All right. Now, in order to help you understand what befell Joseph at the hands of his older brothers, I need to give you a sense of the family dynamic here, right? First of all, Joseph was born into a large family, even by Bedouin standards. He's the 11th of 12 brothers, and his 10 older brothers are savages. They are a tough group of men. They spend all day outside under the burning sun, leather tough because they're tending their dad's sheep, and they're practically raised by wolves, and they get up to a bunch of shenanigans out there, and there are subtle clues in the text which help us understand that there's competition between them. Now, understand this. Jacob, the father of this family, has 4 wives. These 12 sons are born of 4 different women, okay? 2 of whom are sisters, and the other 2 are concubines who belong to those 2 sisters. And these women are in desperate competition for primacy in the household and for the affection of Jacob. It's quite a sad story. I wish I had time to go into it and tell you how Jacob acquired this large family and the situation between the 2 sisters, Rachel and Leah. But I don't have time. We'll get to that in another video. What you need to understand now is that the discord that exists between the 2 sisters also permeates the entire family and trickles down to the brothers. So you understand a small bit of the context for what Joseph is born into. Another thing to point out here is that Father Jacob has a problem with favoritism. He loves Rachel best of all. Fresh, vivacious, vigorous, voluptuous Rachel, right? And poor Leah is second fiddle. And that favoritism extends to his son by his favorite wife, Joseph. Young Joseph turns out to be a spoiled brat, okay? It should not surprise you. Not only does Dad sew him his beautiful coat, the traditional coat of many colors, which, by the way, the Hebrew is unclear just what embroidered or embellished means. So far as scholars can tell, it could mean anything. I like to think there are little bells on the coat. Just Dad sews a bunch of little bells on the tassel so you can hear him coming, right? Jingle, 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 jingle. He's a tattletale as well. Once again, Dad doesn't understand family dynamics and certainly could spend some time with Harriet Lerner getting some family systems therapy going. Doesn't understand what his brothers are thinking of his young son Joseph. Or maybe he doesn't care. Because Jacob likes to send Joseph off into the middle of his brothers to check up on them, right? And Joseph loves to come back with bad reports. Hey, Dad, guess what? I just saw Gad and Asher on the overpass again throwing rocks at the Canaanites. Oh, man, it was terrible. Camels were bucking off their riders, and there were turbans flying, and the Turkish rugs were all over the ground. Oh, and you know what, Dad? You need to keep your eye on Reuben and Bilhah, because I don't like the way he's looking at her. There's something weird going on between those two, Dad. You might want to pay attention to what's going on in your family, because something's not right. Damn, Dad! Bye. You watch your mouth. You know, you're not supposed to cuss. Now you listen to me. You go and tell Judah he's to keep an eye on Gad and Asher. They're to be learning to share sheep with their brothers instead of up making shenanigans with the Canaanites. And tell something else to Reuben. You tell him he's not to be sharing the sheep because he's utter shite at it. You got that? Go on. Sure, Dad. And so it goes. Well, there's an additional problem here. A little salt in the wound. Not only is he a brat and a tattletale, and Dad has sewn him the coat, and everybody knows that Jacob dotes on Joseph. Well, Joseph has dreams. God apparently is giving Joseph prophetic dreams about his future. His future as viceroy in Egypt, and all his family dependent upon him. And Joseph loves to talk about these dreams, right? Hey guys, guess what? I had another dream. You're not going to believe it. We were out thrashing wheat, and my wheat bundle was standing in the middle of you guys, and your wheat bundle was bowing down to mine. And then I had this dream that we were all stars, and the moon and sun, that's Mom and Dad, they were all bowing down to me too, so meh. Anyway, the brothers are beginning to hate Joseph. And Dad apparently is blind. Yeah, boys, shut up. He might have a point. These dreams actually could mean something. Now you understand some of the source of the family disunity, why Joseph is just about to get himself in deep weeds. Rachel, when she had Joseph, her one wish was, God has given me a son. May I have another one? And so I'm going to name him Joseph. Joseph means may he add, by the way. So how would you like to be Joseph, running around with all your other faults, to have the name that means, he's great, I want another one? Well, Rachel got her wish. She has a son, but it's her last son. She dies in childbirth to Benjamin. And Jacob is, of course, devastated. Maybe it is because of his despondency that we can give him the benefit of the doubt here from what he does next, and his inattentiveness to his second youngest son, Joseph, because he sends him out on a mission to once again check on his brothers. But he sends him out from the valley of Hebron, which is where they're apparently camped, out to Shechem. Boy, I want you to go out and check on your brothers. Go on out to Shechem and make sure they're not up in any dirty work again. Which is some 40 miles away. These guys are way out there, all right? Now that's a long way to travel, alone. A young 17-year-old boy. Now maybe he thinks nothing's going to happen to him out there in Shechem, since his boys cleaned that place out some years ago with the whole Shechem and Dinah affair, right? Joseph, eager to please his dear old dad, runs on off to go fulfill his duty. When he gets there, there's nobody there. They've moved on. Joseph sees this guy. He doesn't know him, but he says, Hey, mister, hey! I'm looking for my brothers. Have you seen these guys? They smell really bad, kind of like goat, and there's a bunch of them, like 10, and they got a bunch of sheep and goats around them. The stranger says, Well, you just missed them fellers. They went on off to Dothan, what I heard. You might want to get running. And so, ding-a-ling-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding, off Joseph goes with his coat of many colors and all the little bells. And he runs off to Dothan, which is like another, day's journey from Shechem. He finds them. He crests the hill, and he looks down into a valley, and there's all the goats, and there's all the sheep, and there's 10 stinky brothers out there doing God knows what, playing craps or 5-card stud or whatever. Dan's over there tattooing Naphtali with a rusty nail and berry juice. Ding-a-ling-a-ding-a-ding. Hey, you guys! Oh, look who it is. It's the dreamer. You know what we should do? We should kill him. Get rid of him once and for all. Wash your hands of the little brat. Reuben has some sense, though. Reuben talks these guys into just, throwing him into a nearby cistern and letting him cool his heels down there for a while. They grab hold of Joseph. Joseph's like, "Hey, what are you guys doing? Get your hands off of me. I'm going to tell Dad." "Shut up, boy." They take his coat and they throw him into the pit. And now he's down there crying, sobbing his little eyes out. And Reuben is thinking this. He's going to let him, learn his lesson. And then he's going to drag him out of there at the end of the day when his brothers have cooled off, slap it in the arse, and send him home to die. Well, that's not what happens, as you well know. Reuben is not all that bright after all, as sweet and fun-loving as he is. He has a small attention span because he goes and wanders off into the weeds to pee or something like that. And while he's gone, these Ishmaelite caravans come by. Now, here's where Judah comes in. Judah has the bright idea to sell Joseph. He says, "Hey boys, look yonder. There's them Ishmaelites coming down the way. I bet we could sell that I bet we could sell that little turd down there and make some money off of him instead of bloodying up our hands." Well, this sounds like a capital idea to his brothers, and they drag him out of the pit and sell him for 20 quid. Now, it's actually 20 shekels of silver. For comparison, 450 some years later, the going rate for a slave among the Israelites is 30 shekels of silver. And Abraham bought the land on which he built the tomb for his wife for 450 shekels of silver. By the way, shekel is a unit of weight. It isn't a coin, okay? Anyway, Reuben gets back. He looks down into the pit and he says, "Hey, where's the boy? What'd you do with him?" Judah says, "We sold the little wanker. We got some money off of him. Drinks are on me tonight, boys." I don't know why Judah speaks in a redneck drawl while everybody else speaks in a bad Irish accent. I didn't make up this damn story. Reuben says, "Waiba, what do you think your dad's going to do when you lots come dragging your Irish back home and he's in with you? Huh? Did you think of that?" Judah says, "Well, Reuben's got a point, fellers. Reuben, what should we do?" "That's your bloody problem. I'm out of it." What they decide to do, they're going to deceive their dad. They slaughter a young goat, and then they take the coat and they dip it in the blood, and then they throw it in the dirt and they kick it around and they make it all messy, and then they take it home to Dad. And they say, "Dad, we found this on the road." And then you can just see Jacob, right? Jacob grabs the coat and he looks at it. And he looks at the stains and he maybe holds it to his nose and smells it and jingles one of the little bells, most of which have broken off. And he says, "This belongs to Joseph. What the hell happened? What'd you do with him?" "Dad, we didn't do nothing with him. I told you. We found this on the road not 2 miles from home. It's his. Some wild animal's gotten a hold of him." And so he thinks he's dead. And he's devastated, crushed. And he says he will go down to his grave in mourning for his son. So Jacob has lost his favorite wife, and now he is lost to his mind his young favorite son, Joseph. It might sound familiar to you what the sons said to their father. "Come now, look at this. Do you recognize it?" And Jacob going, "It belongs to my son." Now, here's the thing. You as the reader, right, are captured by what's happening, right? You're saying to yourself, "No, Jacob, don't believe those bastards. They're lying. Get up, get on your camel, go to Egypt. You're right behind him. He's on his way. He's not dead, Jacob. He's not dead." But Jacob won't listen to you because he can't hear you. Jacob believes his sons, right? Now, you as the reader are trying to find out what happens to Joseph now. What's going to happen? And so you're flipping through the pages and you get to Genesis chapter 38 and you tuck in to read, and it says something like this. "About that time, Judah left dear old Dad and went into business for himself. Teamed up with a feller named Hira the Adulamite. Had him a parcel of kids by a Canaanite woman and gave his son a woman named Tamar." And you're like, what the hell is this? I don't give a damn about Judah and shepherding and Tamar. I want to know what frickin' happens to Joseph. What's the deal? Don't you hate it when a novel does that? You're sucked into the story and you're just all caught up and you're at the edge of your seat wondering what's going to happen, and you're shunted off into another story that you don't care about. But then, despite yourself, you get caught up in the story, right? And you forget about the one that you just got dropped on, and you're wondering what's all this about and stuff. Well, here you are in the Tamar sequence, right? And you just get to the part where she's trying to get pregnant because she's been denied levirate marriage, and because her husband, has died. And so what she do? She takes matters into her own hands when Judah refuses to help her. She puts on the veil and she goes and seduces him at a place called the opening of the eyes, right? And you're waiting for the eyes to be opened. You're waiting for blind Judah to understand and see and know the truth. And it doesn't happen until 3 months later when Tamar comes up pregnant, right? But Judah's like, bring her out to be burned. And out comes the rod. She says, I'm pregnant by the man who owns this. Come now, do you recognize it? This is the bloody coat. And you're thinking, I wonder what the two have to do with each other. Because one was to deceive, and the other brought down the light of truth to Judah's eyes, right? And he had acknowledged his crimes and made reparations, and there was closure, and the story was completed. But the story remains to be complete for Joseph and Jacob, who is still under the veil of deceit, right? We've had Joseph's bloody coat, and now Judah's rod of shame. But something needs to happen for the opening of the eyes. And we're going to see that in the next story. So we're going to close the story for now. But I want to encourage you to come back for the next one. And if this series is beneficial to you, then by all means, leave a comment. Tell me what we ought to talk about next. What stories would you suggest that maybe I don't know about? And tell me what you think about this Judah sequence and what it had to do with Joseph. Did it make sense? And if it didn't, let me know. Anyway, thanks for watching, folks. And Lord willing, I'll see you in the next video.